Now I want to walk you through the room itself and give you a flavor of how it's arranged. So as I walk into the room from outside, this is basically the double door that leads in to the theatre room. As you see, it's not a really big room, it's quite small. So on the one side, you've got the back wall. As you turn here, the back wall turns and then comes towards the front, and at this point there's a double door. And then at the other end, you got a staircase going down, and that's pretty much the whole room. Some of the key challenges in this room are how basically to place the AT screen, acoustically transparent screen, in such a way that the experience is going to be fairly good from watching movies perspective, but at the same time I need to have access to be able to get to the back of the screen. So if you look at this, the screen is going to probably be built over here in front of this wall, but if I do that and the screen stretches from the left to the right, how do I get access to the back of the screen for the speakers? So based on a lot of deliberation and discussion with Mrs. B. Mann and a couple of other people on the forum, the design approach that we used was we're looking at this under the stairs area. The other side is basically going to be the entry to the under the stairs area, and from there what we've done is we've framed out another door here, which means you could enter through the other side and come out through this side to the back of the AT screen. So the AT screen is basically going to be here, stretching from this left to the right, and we have an opening here which will give us access to the back of the AT screen. Now the same thing on the right hand side. We did not consider this initially until Mrs. B. Mann brought this to my attention. I was initially thinking that one access space is going to be sufficient to enter into the room and take care of the speakers from the back of the screen. But as we started the construction, one of the key things we noted was this beam over here, this 2x4, that's basically running from the top to the bottom. Essentially what's happening here is that even if I can have access to the back of the right speaker, I can't really come over the back of the left speaker, I can't really come over to the right hand side to the subwoofer and the spacing behind the additional speaker because this obstruction. I asked the contractors if this can be chopped off, and they said they can't because it's kind of load bearing, so we got to live with that. So the other option I was thinking about was if I do that, then I lose access to the right side speakers. So I would construct it in such a way that the panel on the right hand side for the AT screen can open up and I can go from the front. But then in that case you got to do a little bit more complicated build where the right side panel can come out and then can be put back in. So decided it's a better approach to basically create an opening from the back. So if you're looking at this, we created an opening here large enough which will close out with an MDF door through which I can enter and gain access to the rear speaker. Now a couple of things to take into account for the actual build itself, right? So one thing to notice is that when we construct the AT screen which runs from the left to the right, it's not going to be able to attach itself to the top with a lot of stability. So we need to bring in some kind of a design where when we mount the screen and try to anchor it to the wall and the ceiling, it's basically has a surface where it can go and rest against and can anchor itself well. So based on the suggestion given by Mrs. B. Mann, what I did was created this cross braces. So if you're looking at this, these cross braces are going to be supporting that screen wall. then we create it so that it can be mounted to the ceiling and has an anchor point. Now, one of the key things to keep in mind is that because it's such a small room, the AT screen design is a little bit different here. Instead of it running straight from left to right, what we're thinking about, and this is still a proof of concept at this time, is basically have the two speakers extend out to the front till this spot, the one that I'm tapping, but recess the screen in such a way that the screen is going to be a bit behind and has a center speaker behind it, right? So basically what we're going to create is like a recessed kind of a screen. Again, this is just a proof of concept when we're thinking about this. But if you have to go that way, then the right and the left panels need to be supported at the ceiling. And since they're going to be a little bit in front, they're not going to use this crossbar. So what we needed to do was to create another support here between these joists, the second and the third joist. So basically, if you're looking at this, you've got the first joist here connected to the second joist with these cross supports, and then there's a third joist here, which is where the right panel is going to come. And for the right panel to mount to the top, we created a supporting framework here on the right and on the left. It was extremely difficult working in such tight quarters. So what we did, if you look at this, the cross braces, the way we constructed it, is the Kreg jig was a really incredible, useful tool to do this, right? So if you look at the way it's laid out, the support at the top, the top 2x4, it's basically anchored to the two joists using a pocket screw. Made the hole at the pocket hole using the Kreg jig, attach that to the joist, and then from the bottom anchored the other 2x4 in. So that's the way the pocket hole was really helpful. The other place the pocket hole jig was really helpful is in mounting these rear surround. What I was told, I think this was Dan's idea actually, I want to give credit to him. I was really thinking about how to mount the rear speakers, and he basically gave me an idea that it'll be good if you basically had a couple of 2x6s between the studs in such a way that you could basically mount your speakers to them. I initially did the top mounts, and then when a few people saw it on the forum, they said, oh, it's too high for your rear surrounds, you need a little bit lower. So I mounted the bottom ones as well, right? So this is another place where the Kreg jig was incredibly useful. So if you look at the way this construction is over here, this was really easy to get my screw into. If you look at this, is a 2x4 on its side, right? But this specific 2x4, what they've done is they put the longer piece, the 4 inch on the front, right? There's no way I could get a screw into this from this side to go and hold this board. So this is where these pocket holes really came useful. I was able to use my Kreg jig, cut out the pocket holes, and then mount the screws in and anchor this in. As you see, it's incredibly strong, these two pieces, right? Very, very strong. Did the same on this side too. Now, on the ceiling, this was a great idea from Mississippi Man because I wanted to have some kind of support for my projector. And if you look at this between the ceiling joists, if all that you're going to do is going to hang the projector to the drywall, it's not going to be very stable. So Mississippi Man gave me a design of creating a projector mount here. So I basically made this mount. Again, Kreg jig to the rescue. Making the pocket holes to basically attach them to, so it's a very stable and very firm structure. Now when I completed this, the part that I'm showing you right now, that was the original design. When I completed that, what we found was that given the incredibly close distance to the screen, you need a projector which can actually move back if I need to. So if I decide that I wanted to go a little bit further out to the back, I needed a mounting spot. So we extended this, as you see here, a small piece over here that I extended. I could not go more than that because this pipe over here, this ductwork really gets in the way. So this is the maximum I could go to, but at least this is a great place where I could really go go a bit further and extend the mounting distance. So these are some of the structural things that I've done in prepping or designing this room to be able to do an AT screen.